Hi, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Brian Dar. I'm a solutions architect with XPM, a proud Valiantis company, and you are hopefully here for project portfolio management tooling with Atlassian. Um, just a little bit about our company, just so you know why you're talking to XPM and not Atlassian. XPM is a platinum solution partner with Atlassian. So we provide basically all kinds of services, consulting, implementations, guidance, licensing, everything around the Atlassian ecosystem. So if you've never worked with a partner before, be happy to tell you more about it later. It's a pretty nice relationship, and Atlassian and we get along very, very well. So thank you for coming. In addition to being a solutions architect at XPM, I'm also a safe program consultant and what's called an Atlassian certified expert. Just means I have a lot of Atlassian certifications. So hopefully you feel like you're listening to somebody that can tell you something worthy of your next hour. All right, so our agenda is we're going to talk about desired outcomes of PPM tooling. We're going to talk about implementation considerations. We're going to look at multiple tool options, including structure, big picture, advanced roadmaps, Jira Align, some other stuff. We're then going to dive into those tools live, so let's hope they work, because SaaS and every once in a while there's a problem, but these will be live demos in the tool. Then we're going to talk about some Microsoft Project Connector options for people that are unable to move away from Microsoft. We'll talk about Jira Align, which is kind of a PPM tool, but really aimed at a different audience. But there's a whole nother webinar that I will talk about that'll show you a deep dive into Jira Align. And then we'll wrap up with Q&A. All right, so let's talk about desired outcomes with Atlassian tooling. So I think you're all used to Jira as a team level tool. People put in their work, they track it. It goes up to the epic layer, which is at the team of teams layer, and it's great for teamwork. And originally was designed as a bug tracker, but now that everybody's in it, people want layers of scale going up so they can tie tasks to epics, they can tie epics to initiatives, they can tie initiatives to strategic themes, that kind of thing. So this first point, what we're looking for when we add PPM tooling on top of Jira is we want alignment of work to our enterprise strategy. And all the tools that we're going to show you today allow that to happen. We also want some additional visualization around capacity versus demand. And all of these tools provide that kind of visualization as well. We want to see clear dependency management. If you're used to doing dependencies in Jira, you know about the very robust issue links, something blocks something or something is caused by something else. And that's all helpful at the team level. But as we zoom out, we want to see these links and how they're going to impact our scheduling. We want to look at Gantt charts, perhaps, see how one change is going to push everything else out. These tools will provide that. We're looking for predictable and prioritized delivery of value. So how do we prioritize all of our work across the enterprise? How do we prioritize our themes versus our initiatives, that kind of thing. We're looking at stakeholder and team visibility for our work. Again, Jira is a very visible tool at the team level, but how do you see all that from the top looking out or laterally looking out at what's happening? We want to get fewer fire drills, obviously. That's one of the reasons to use these tools at all. And we want to mitigate risks pretty much by doing the above things. It's important to call out that the way people work and plan can be quite different from enterprise to enterprise. I know that some groups are purely agile, some are purely waterfall, but much like many things in life, this is probably a spectrum. And so there's a large number of hybrid planning and delivery configurations that we see among our clients when we help roll out these tools with them. By adding these tools to your tool stack, you'll keep your planning and delivery connected no matter what your environment. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Some of these tools better for Agile, some better for waterfall. They all work though. All right, let's talk about implementation considerations. We like to talk about people, then process, then tools here. Internally. Often it's not just a tool that is needed, but a process change. Tools only wind up reinforcing processes, good or bad. So assuming that you have hired the right people already, and then assuming that those people are already following good processes, today we're going to talk about the tools. But just keep that in mind. If you ever implement these, either with us or by yourself or with any other partner, there's probably going to need to be a bit of change management and process change around it. All right. In many cases, implementing these tools does not mean moving your team's collective cheese, to quote one of my favorite books. While we are always pro standardization for both training and cross-team synergy, it's also really important to allow your teams to do what they do best with the processes that already work for them. In general, we don't need to standardize at the team level, but we do need to start standardizing at the Jira epic layer or the safe feature layer. Basically, whatever teams are tying their work up to, those need to be standardized so that management can provide prioritized and estimated work to the teams top down so that teams can tie their work bottom up. The epics themselves can then be tagged with customers, products, et cetera, to feed into the roadmaps that we're going to build. The epics will then also tie into higher level initiatives, which will allow for company strategy execution. I hope all this is making sense. We're going to see some visuals of this in a little bit. Each of these tools, with the exception of Jira Align, can be done with just a few teams to start. And this will allow you to solve emergent challenges and provide that light on the hill that will attract everyone else to this more effective way of working. I'm always a big fan of starting with a pilot team, getting it right, getting it to work, and then having everybody else go, wow, that's really fantastic. How can I do that? It makes for much better change management. All right, let me check my notes here, make sure that I'm seeing what I need to see. Okay. All right, let's talk about tool options. There's a bunch of tools that we're going to discuss today. As far as the apps, we're going to look at advanced roadmaps. We're going to look at structure and structured Gantt, and we're going to look at big picture and big picture enterprise. There are others such as WBS Gantt chart and Big Gantt, and I just saw a new one recently, Epic Rollup or Epic SumUp. I don't quite remember the name. I'm sorry for the producers of that if they're on this webinar. And they all serve their own purposes, and they're all great tools. We often consult on them, but these are the ones that we see people implementing the most. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. In addition, like I mentioned before, there's also SEPTA-Bridge and Fluent Pro Integration Hub. So if you're in an environment that heavily uses MS Project, we can connect your everyday tool, Jira, to your planning with one of these two options. Or we've also built our own integrations as well, if you're interested in that, because we are also a full stack development shop. Lastly, there is Jira Align, which is a very robust flagship product from Atlassian. It's really aimed at safe, scaled agile framework shops. So if you're pretty waterfall and you're not doing PI planning and stuff, you might want to avoid Jira Align for now. The rest of these tools will help you tremendously already. And anything you do to set up these tools will also set you up to use something like Jira Align or some other ERP in the future. Just because getting the processes right at the team and at the team of teams level supports this all the way up. All right, so we're going to talk about advanced roadmaps, and then we're going to dive right into that tool. So what is advanced roadmaps? Advanced roadmaps is a cross-project road mapping and visualization tool that has team level capacity planning and limited, and I really stress limited, auto scheduling functionality. It is native with Jira Cloud Premium and Jira Data Center. So that's pretty fantastic. If you're on Jira Cloud Standard, you cannot get it. You will have to upgrade to Premium. If you're on Jira Cloud Enterprise, no problem, that includes Premium. And if you're on Data Center, it comes native as well. If you're still on Server, you probably know that Server is getting deprecated early next year, and hopefully you're already planning a cloud or data center migration. If that's the case, or I'm sorry, if that's not the case, please do reach out. We can help you with that migration too, or at least point you in the right direction. We have a great webinar on that. All right, so basically, Advanced Roadmaps is free if you're on Cloud Premium or Data Center, already in the box. And as far as the tool organization goes, the primary object in Advanced Roadmaps is a plan. Each plan has its own definable scope of issues and projects and boards. It has its own definable views, its own scenarios, and its own permissions, which is nice because you can do all your planning in one little spot and let the right people in there, and then it can tie back to Jira. And that's the other important thing about this too. It's native with Jira. It live updates Jira when you want it to. Really important to note, this is not a Gantt chart. This is a live road mapping tool. very different than a Gantt chart. Specifically, if I push something out, it's not going to push everything else out. It's just going to move the one object out that I moved in the roadmap. Also, I like to think of advanced roadmaps much like a Kanban board in Jira software. It's just another way to visualize work in the tool, because it's just another visualization layer sitting on top of Jira. All right, so let's dive into the tool itself and see what it's all about. This is the aforementioned advanced roadmap. Specifically, I am in a demo plan, and let me just walk you through what we're seeing here. We're looking at a scope view over here on the lower left. So we have all of these issues, and then we have different fields on those issues, and then we have a roadmap here on the right. So, and also specifically what I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing initiatives broken down into epics. If I change my view, I can look at my epic planning view, which is just a view that I personally made earlier. Now I'm seeing my epics with their parent initiative next to them, and the epics are broken down into stories and tasks and bugs, etc. I could do a 4-layer hierarchy and just keep drilling down if I wanted to, but I've chosen to visualize it this way. Let's talk about date behavior first and foremost. So let me come up to that other view really quick. All right, so what you see here is we have epics, and all of these epics are actually rolling up dates from their children right now. But basically, dates appear in the roadmap based on manually updated start and end dates. So I'm going to add this. If we see epic 3 right here, it has no start and no end date. I'm going to add manually a start and end date right here. And now those dropped right in, 15th of August through the 14th of November. And I can drag and drop times here as well. Parents can inherit children's dates and some values. So we see here again, this epic is inheriting the earliest start date of all of its children and the latest end date of all of its children. And that's why we get this barber pole striping effect on it. Whereas this epic is a solid start and end. We can also have ambiguous ends as well. So we can have a solid start and an ambiguous end. Let's talk about dependencies. Let me show you that in a slightly different view. So dependencies, we have this classic spaghetti string yarn style if we want, and we can move things around with that. I consider these soft dependencies. They are done with Jira links. So in other words, this story, Alpha 73, is blocking Alpha 21. And it's just using a basic Jira link. I call them soft because they are just Jira links. This is not the kind of date linking behavior. I'm sorry, not the kind of linking behavior that you would expect from a Gantt chart, such as start to start, start to finish, finish to start, finish to finish. This is just a soft block spy. And you'll notice that if I move this issue, it does not update its dependent. So again, not a Gantt chart. But it is a great way to visualize if there's a problem in your schedule. All right, sandboxes. Everything that I'm doing in this plan right now is in a sandbox. And you'll see that I've already made a couple of date changes. So I can click up here under review changes, and I can see the different issues that I changed. I can see the fields that I have decided to update. I can send update notifications. And I can either save those selected changes back to Jira, or I can discard those changes. I'm going to discard them right now. Also, we can have multiple sandboxes available as scenarios within one plan. So here I've got my best case plan and my worst case plan. If I come over to my worst case plan, you'll see that I'm making other changes to my fields over here. And those changes are being stored up here in a different ready to push configuration. All right, let's talk about estimation. You can estimate your work by either story points or time tracking. You cannot do a hybrid within one plan. And let me see if I can find, I've got a swag. Oh, story points, yeah. So this particular plan, we are estimating in story points, and the children are rolling up to the parent here. There is also no native conversion of story points to time within advanced roadmaps. Although you could write an automation that every time you updated story points, it updated your original estimate field based on a known conversion for a team. So that's an option. Critical path. There is no critical path marking, but there is a dependency map, which is helpful. So if we come here to dependency report, you see, I'll go to fit, and then you can see all the dependencies, how they're behaving, what's blocking what's in red. So that's a nice way to see a critical-ish path, but it's not true critical path. Baselines. There are no baselines. So this is always live reporting out of the tool, reporting straight from Jira, basically. So unless you have explicitly changed something in the plan, you're seeing live data from Jira every time you refresh. Again, no baselines. Earliest start constraints. There is no earliest start constraint either. So I know I'm saying a lot of no's. This is still a fantastic tool, and it's built in and it's free. Also, one of my favorite pieces of this tool is sharing visualizations. So I was able to make multiple views here, my epic planning, initiative planning, capacity planning, all of this. And each of these views I can share. So this view right here, I can share as a link. So anybody can come, anybody who has Jira view rights can come to this link, and they will see a read-only version of this plan. Now they can still manipulate it themselves, and you can see it says read-only up here. It's specifically this worst-case scenario on that particular view, and they can come in here and they can turn off certain warnings. They can change the hierarchy if they want. They can change the view settings. But every time they come back here, it's going to reset to my intended view for them. You can also embed these roadmaps in an iframe. You can embed them in Confluence, incredibly helpful. You can drop them off as a CSV, or you can save it as a PNG and drop it right into your PowerPoint for next time. The way that I like to use this the most is I drop it into Confluence, and then I make a big status page with all of my contextual updates in Confluence. I give an overall status of red, amber, green. I give highlights, known risks, and then I just drop the roadmap right below it. And that way we're always live updating. It really avoids having to have a weekly status meeting. It makes it very simple reporting straight up. You can just point them to a link. They always have a live updated status report. Let's talk about resourcing behavior for a moment, because that is also very important. So we talked about planning. Now we're switching to resourcing. Resourcing happens at the team level, not at the individual level. It's very important to note. So I made a particular view here that groups all the work by teams. Each team is available through a Jira software board, either a Kanban board or a Scrum board. And capacity is done by team. So if I come here to the teams view, you'll see that I have a capacity for Charlie team of 30 points, beta 40, alpha 30. We have a sprint length set up here. If you're on a Kanban team, you can do this by time instead if you want. But again, you can't mix those both in the same plan, which is a bit frustrating. Let's come back to the timeline here. Yeah, so we can see capacity, and then if I click in here, I can see that this is over allocated. I can also in future sprints, I can temporarily change the capacity for that particular team, for that particular iteration. If we know people are going on vacation, for example. So I find that quite helpful as well. There are no skills in Advanced Roadmap. That's because this is all at the team level planning. Again, team level capacity right here. And there is an auto scheduler for resource leveling. However, so if I click this and I click preview results, it's going to run through everything in my plan and try to figure out what to push around based on rank and based on assignee and story points and sprint information, and it's going to tell me to move all this stuff around. In my opinion, and I've spent a lot of time diving into this auto schedule, I find it too opaque and confusing to recommend at this time. I've done a lot of support tickets back and forth with Atlassian asking about why something's behaving this way versus that. And a lot of times the answer is it's just the algorithm, we're not really sure. So at this point, I can't recommend the auto scheduler, but as far as visualizing roadmap stuff go, fantastic. Lastly, a cross-plan resource view is not available in cloud. There is no plan of plans, as it were. That's not really a problem because you can just expand the scope of one plan and make that plan, you know, the master plan, as it were. But yeah, there's no cross-plan linking. All right, so back to the slide deck. All right, oops. Deciding factors. It's native with Jira. It's free. It's not a Gantt chart. It's great for roadmaps. It's great for team level resourcing. It has opaque auto scheduling, and it's great for sharing visualizations. All right, that's advanced roadmaps. Moving on to structure and structure Gantt. All right, structure and structure Gantt. This is a robust Gantt chart add-on. I mean, really robust. I'm a big fan of it. You can deploy this in cloud or data center. The tool organization, the primary object is a Gantt, which is based on something called a structure. A structure is where you define scope, hierarchy, and views, and then you slap a Gantt onto it, which then shows you your different scenarios, your baselines, your scheduling, and your resourcing behavior. And there's also intra-Gantt scheduling behavior, which I think is very cool. So you could say, for all work tied to epics for this team, behave this way, but for all work tied to epics for this team, behave in a different way. Makes a lot of sense. And also, you can do quick filters. So let's dive into the tool. You're going to see that I navigate much more quickly through advanced roadmaps than through these other tools, so please bear with me here. So on the left here, we're seeing a structure, and it looks a lot like advanced roadmaps, right? I basically defined to bring in these initiatives and then fill them in with epics and fill those epics in with their children here. We have our progress bars and our progress roll up right here. Something really powerful about structures that is not available in other tools is the columns in structures are very robust, and you can also write your own calculations and your own behavior in these columns as well. I'm trying to find an example. I think it's way up higher. So custom progress by status. But yeah, there's a, oh, there we go. Yeah, formula. So you can write your own field basically if you want in here. Very, very helpful. On the right over here, we have the Gantt part, and this is a Gantt chart. So the date behavior here, dates are automatically determined and duration is automatically set based on the properties of each work item. So based on the work estimate, the resource assigned, etc. Oops, let me come in here. And you can see as I click here, there's a lot of options for scheduling on an item by item basis. This is a fixed duration of 1 day, but we could also set the duration ourselves. And we can do auto scheduling or manual scheduling on a per item basis. There's also some resourcing stuff down here, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And then it even tells you about potential scheduling conflicts and then flashes them up here in red, which is also quite nice. So again, if you're set to do auto on these items, the dates and the duration will be adjusted based on the estimate on this particular work item. All right, dependency behavior. Click into this dependency. So we have 4 different kinds of dependencies. I've only configured one here, but we can do finish to start, finish to finish, start to start, start to finish. So again, true Gantt chart features here, and also optional lead and lag time if you want. Sandboxes, yes, but only in data center for now, which is very frustrating. Oh, sorry, I didn't even click on that yet. So right now, if I'm making changes in the tool, they're getting pushed back to Jira. So I'm not a huge fan of that right now. Again, data center has those sandboxes, works out great. Cloud does not yet. Estimation, you can estimate in story points, time tracking, or by formulas. And you can do automatic conversion between story points and time, which is also very helpful because I think we all know at the planning level that story points do eventually have to translate into time if we're going to put them on a roadmap. Critical path, yes, you can show critical path here. We can just highlight that. I don't have anything laid out to show critical path here, but everything would turn red and you would see the little squiggly lines showing you what the critical path is. Baselines. Yes, there are multiple baselines. It's great. So you can set as many baselines as you want. They all save into structure Gantt. And every time you come back, you can see based on which baseline, how far out your schedule has moved. Again, we saw those 4 different link types. However, early start, early finish, late start, late finish constraints, there are none in this tool. So if you're looking for that, you'll still need something like Microsoft Project. And then sharing visualizations. Yes, you can share and you can export. You can drop these onto a Jira dashboard. You can drop them into a Confluence dashboard. Very helpful for sharing. Also, I just want to show you within the settings here, the settings are really, really robust. So in general, if I come to scheduling here, we can see what the default estimate is. We can say if we want to use time tracking or if we want to use custom attributes like story points or any other number field in our system. We can show the format in different ways. We can show progress based on estimates or based on a formula or based on statuses or something else. And we can adjust how manual scheduling happens. I mean, this is very, very detailed. My favorite, though, is the section that's called, wait, where is it? Yeah, here we go. Hours ratio. This is really important. So how many hours is one story point worth? And I know Agilists are clenching right now and very upset about this. But again, story points, if you're going to roadmap them, at some point have to turn into dates. And so this is how that happens. But since every team is different, you can use this feature called slices. And you can make a slice based on JQL. And you can say, for these issues, behave in a different way. So if I make a slice, it basically says, all right, I'm going to make a new copy of all this scheduling work, and you can schedule differently for that JQL slice. I think that's incredibly powerful in this tool. All right, resourcing behavior. We turn on resources here. We will get resource usage down here, and we can see all the people assigned. The other frustrating thing is there's no real horizontal scrolling within structure, which is a bit challenging, but here we are. And we can see 16.1 hours assigned. We can see that it's red. We can view it in hours or in percentages. And we can do a lot of things down here with the various resource settings. We can give myself different availability. We can put myself on availability schedule, what time zones, work calendar, how many units of work I can do. And the other nice thing is that based on the settings, resourcing behavior, you can assign either an individual or a team to the work. So if you need to move from team level capacity down to individual capacity, structure is more what you're going to want. Although I would argue that managing individual capacity is very difficult and requires a lot of overhead. Availability of resources is done through shared calendars with working hours and time zones, days with holidays. Resources can also be temporarily assigned a percentage reduction or expanded capacity. Capacity adjustments, you can set resource units as well as a work calendar per resource. Tasks can also be set with a maximum unit. So you saw that resource unit a minute ago. There's also a max units here. So how many people can work on this item at one time? Maybe it's 3, or maybe it's only a half a person. Skills, there are no individual level skills in structured Gantt. Resource leveling, yes, however, only for data center. You can run a resource leveler in the data center version of this to shift issues based on a desired priority attribute, either rank or a different field if you want, to bring one or more resources back under 100%. The leveling in data center has a lot of options, including whether to move completed items, started items, manually scheduled items, and from when to start leveling as well, which is helpful. Just like advanced roadmaps, there's also no cross-plan resource view. Back to the slideshow. All right, so deciding factors. Slices in scheduling allow for very granular behavior within one Gantt chart. You can do team and individual resourcing. You can do multiple baselines. You can do duration based on estimates, which is very cool, I think. You can structures themselves can also be quite useful for showing hierarchies and additional fields and planning. There are no skills. You can do resource leveling, but only in data center. And you can do sandboxes, but only in data center for now. All right, I think we're right on time. So we're going to move over to talking about our third tool of the day, and that is Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise. Actually, wait, let me put a pause on that. I'm talking about Structure and Structure Gantt because the way that you buy these tools, you have to buy both. If you buy just Structure, you're going to get the Structure side, but you won't get the Gantt side. And if you buy Structure Gantt without Structure, well, it doesn't work. So if you want the Gantt chart, it's actually 2 apps that you have to buy. I'm reminded of that because our next tool, Big Picture, is the same. There's basic Big Picture. Actually, there's even basic Big Gantt if you want. There's actually Big Gantt, Big Picture, and Big Picture Enterprise. And there's different combinations depending on what your enterprise needs are. If you're a very large company, you're almost guaranteed to need Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise. If you need any help with the pricing or figuring that out, please send me an email after this, and I'll have that at the end of the presentation, but we'll be able to look at that in more detail in a moment. All right, so an overview. Big Picture is a multi-tool. It's basically the Swiss Army knife of PPM tools within the Atlassian ecosystem. It contains Big Gantt. It also has modules for Agile and program boards, risks, roadmaps and objectives. There's an expanded resources view, including workload plans, holiday plans, and skills. There's teams, calendars, and also an additional reporting section if you use the full version of Big Picture. How do we say it? The primary organization is something called a box. It's kind of like a plan. It's kind of like an issue type too. It's a little weird. I'll explain in a minute. But if you get Big Picture Enterprise, you will get unlimited box types, unlimited scenarios, cross-box resource views, module renaming, tempo integration, data residency, and advanced reports modifications. Deployment. Is that not on that slide? No. All right. Well, we'll talk about it here. You can deploy this on cloud or data center. And then as far as tool organization goes, Big Picture is structured in these things called boxes. Each box has its own definable scope, its own hierarchy, its own views, its own scenarios, its own scheduling and resource behavior, and its own quick filters. And each box can bidirectionally sync with Trello cards too, which is kind of helpful if you're also using Trello a lot. Box types define how boxes relate to each other with parenting and also contain template metadata that can be changed once a box is created. In this way, boxes are kind of like an issue type and kind of like an issue template at the same time. Some example box types are you can have a portfolio box or a program box or a program increment box or an iteration box. So when I talk about those, we're looking at more of an agile world. We've got our portfolio, our program, our PI, and then our iterations. And then work fits into that last iteration box with its definable scope. If you're more traditional planning, you can a box type could be a project, a phase, or an initiative. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. We're going to move into the tool and take a look at it now. All right, so if I zoom out all the way back home, you will see you'll see these different boxes here. So home is all of my planning together, and then I can break things out into these different box types. So I've got an example hybrid portfolio, an example program that's broken out into program increments, which is broken out into iterations, and I've got a demo project, which is broken out into stages, all of which roll up into the same portfolio. So if you're a truly hybrid organization, this might be a very good tool for you, just because you can have different people managing different things in different sections, and then you can have them all roll up. But what I'm going to demo off of is this demo portfolio down here. All right, so date behavior, that's the first thing to talk about. Let's come to today and let's scroll over. There we go. All right, so dates in big picture appear on the Gantt based on manually updated end and start dates, kind of like advanced roadmaps, or auto-scheduled dates based on dependency links. It does not look at estimates to determine duration, unlike structure. And we can also talk about the way that it's scheduled here. So on a work item by work item basis, I can lock it in place, I can manually schedule it, or I can have it either I can force things to inherit bottom up, or I can force things to inherit top down if we need to. Dependency behavior. Just like structure, we have all of our fancy dependency types: start to start, start to end, end to start, and end to end. And big picture also differentiates between what they call hard and soft dependencies. The difference there is hard dependencies, at least I think that's what they call them. I could be wrong. But these hard dependencies are traditional Gantt dependencies. These soft dependencies are Jira links. So I can choose to show the blocks as blocked by link on the Gantt as well. And I like this because I can do my traditional planning, but I can also overlay what the developers are saying about the way things are working and interacting within and between sprints, which is helpful. And you can also have lag and lead time, and they have something called ASAP mode, which follows strict adherence to the Gantt links. Sandboxes. Yes, there are multiple sandboxes available. However, you only get multiple sandboxes if you're doing it in big picture enterprise. Otherwise, you're going to get one internal and one external. I'm sorry, one private and one public sandbox. And that's those are called scenarios up here. And so you can make a private or a not private scenario. And again, you get one of each unless you also add on big picture enterprise. Estimation. Estimates are done by time tracking using Jira's native original estimate and remaining estimate, or by story points. Automatic conversion between story points and time is available, and it is configurable per box. So if you have a box per sprint, great, or a box per PI, yes. This would be a problem if you need different conversions based on different teams. There's a bit of a workaround for it. It's just not as straightforward as structure. Critical path highlighting. Yes, you can turn on critical path, and you can see those, specific items there. Baselines. Yes, you can set a baseline for the entire Gantt chart or per issue, but you can only have one baseline per issue. So if you have issues in multiple visualizations, that doesn't work. The reason why is because the baseline saves into a Jira field. So it becomes a property on the issue itself. So that's just something to keep in mind. And again, I wish I could show you that tasks baseline. I'm in so many of these tools that it's kind of embarrassing that I can't find it that quickly. I apologize, but it's around here somewhere. This is terrible. I wish I could pause this right now. But anyway, trust me, baselines are here. I'm sure that someone at Big Picture is screaming right now, telling me it's right there, dummy. But yeah, one baseline per issue. All right. Lastly, sharing visualizations. I find the sharing function here a little frustrating. If you want to share, you can share a view, but other sharing requires an additional add-on. So it's not as robust as some other apps without one more additional add-on, unfortunately. I really do want to find that now. This is killing me. Oh, baselines. Yeah, sorry, it's already turned on. There we go. See, there we go. All right, let's talk about resourcing behavior. So we can turn on the resourcing view. Everything shows up down here. We can see unassigned information and also assignment per resource. We can see total workload, remaining capacity. Resourcing in big picture is done by individual only, not by team. Availability is done through something called a shared workload plan, a holiday plan, and also individual absence adjustments. So on the individual in a different screen, you can individually change where they're available. Capacity adjustments are also done through a shared workload plan, which is then applied to an individual. So we have like the standard everybody 8 hours a day plan, and you then apply it to each worker. Skills. Yes, there is a skills function, and I think people really love this. And the way it works is kind of cool. So in big picture, you define skills, and then on a work item, you come into the work item here and you say which skill does this work item require. And so here I could, like, let's say this is a developer or this is a project manager. And then once you have that applied, once you have that applied, you can then do this thing called find the perfect match. And it will then look at workload plans, everything else, and find an appropriate person to assign this task to. If you are into that, that is fantastic. I will say that for a lot of people, originally this appears as a very good idea, but then they realize that, wow, this is a whole lot of top-down command and control, and I think they struggle to actually schedule it that way. But if you are able to do that and you need these skills, this is the tool for you. Let's come back here and talk about resource leveling for a second. Back to big picture. There is no resource leveling, which is a little frustrating. So there's no, automatically rearrange everything. It'll pop up warnings to you, but no true resource leveling. There is, however, a cross-plan resource view if you use Big Picture Enterprise, where you can see everybody and the work they're applied to across all of your different boxes and plans. All right, let's talk about deciding factors. This is multiple tools in one. You get a risk module, you get a program board. If you're doing safe, you get a calendar, plus your gantt. It provides cross-plan resource views. It provides skills. It provides resource contouring, but that's different than resource leveling. Contouring is where you can say if you want to show something up front versus at the end of a given period. And so like if you have a work item across a certain amount of time, you can say stack up all the work in the beginning or do it evenly or stack it up at the end. But it's not going to specifically rearrange work on a per individual basis. Also, there is limited configurations within a given box. So unlike structure, where you can have multiple slices, you can really just configure by Jira project within a given box. Oh, and also this also requires an add-on to export visualizations. Just update my notes based on my PowerPoint here. All right. Moving on. So that's the three major tools that we were going to talk about today. Now I'm going to talk about other connectors and other options. So for many companies, the work that is done in Microsoft Project could be moved into Jira. However, if you are not in a position to stop using Microsoft Project, for example, if you require early start, early finish, late start, late finish constraints, or if you're just in an environment that is completely married to Project, then a connector may be an option. There are two different marketplace connectors. One is SEPTA Bridge, the other one is Fluent Pro Integration Hub. SEPTA Bridge is a COM add-on for the desktop version of Microsoft Project. Desktop MSP then syncs up through MS365, and it provides for extensive field mapping. The limitations for this are it does require a computer that can run desktop apps, so not just a Chromebook, for example, dedicated to making the informational changes in MS Project to enable the sync. So that's something to keep in mind there. Fluent Pro Integration Hub is a cloud app in the SharePoint App Store that connects Microsoft Project, Jira, and also many other tools. However, some limitations are you can't map parent link field, which is frustrating, and you also cannot sync a hierarchy, therefore, above an epic. So still more of a team planning tool at that point. Let's talk about Jira Align. So maybe you're much more of an agile shop. Jira Align is a massive enterprise tool for scaled agile companies. It is a standalone application that connects to Jira. It provides multiple layers of scale. It provides 3 hierarchies. I think I have a slide for this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So for example, we've got Jira Align sitting up here. It then connects to Jira down here. So basically everything from the program layer up is in Jira Align, and you can visualize the teamwork up here in Jira Align. It provides 3 different hierarchies. So basically people hierarchy, work hierarchy, and time hierarchy. It also has all these business vectors that you can connect to your work items. So you can connect products to your features, you can connect OKRs, you can connect value streams, domains, and budgets. It's a massive tool. It takes about 3 months to implement. So that's something to keep in mind. So it is not a simple implementation. We have a webinar coming up. I'll talk about that at the end of this, that will go into a very deep dive about that webinar. Oh, I see. Kylie just posted that. Thank you very much. That's great. Some other features that you might like about Jira Align. It has roadmaps, it does OKRs, it has a really great program board. It has program portfolio and strategy focused areas of the tool where you can get a dashboard view of what's happening at each of those layers. It has really good dependency management. And again, it connects to Jira via a connector. All right, so really quick, before we wrap up, I do just want to talk a little bit about XPM, a Valiantus company, as a Platinum Solution Partner. If you liked any of the stuff that you saw today, or if you want any additional help with anything, we do it all. If you need training on any of these tools or on any Atlassian tool, for example, we have a 3-day Jira bootcamp, we have a 2-day Jira Service Management bootcamp, we have these free webinars, we have a 4-hour cloud migration workshop. We do a lot of fun workshops. We do like Jira Align and Wine. There's some really cool stuff. So if you need any training on anything, public or private, we can help. All of our training is hands-on, tool-based, real-life experience training. Not a lot of slides. This is the most slides that I ever do for anything in my job, is this particular webinar. We also do consulting. So we do implementations, we do migrations, we do licensing help. You can license through us. We can get you licensing discounts. We can help consult you on those licenses and say, hey, you don't actually need those 300 Jira agents. Maybe you just need 25 to get the job done. So we can save you money through finding creative ways to manage your licensing for you. Lastly, we have a full stack custom development shop of wonderful developers. They can build anything. Obviously, we always try to start in the tool, and then we move over to in the app ecosystem. But if it doesn't exist there, we can absolutely build it for you. We can turn it into an app. We can host it on the cloud for you. It's yeah. So if you need anything in that world, let me know. Lastly, we have a lot of upcoming webinars and classes. Today's was Project Portfolio Management with Atlassian. Next week is Introduction to Confluence, followed by, on the same day, Provoking Productive Conflict. That's a team building webinar. We have our 3-day paid Jira Bootcamp. We have a cloud migration workshop. We have a Confluence Bootcamp. We have an Intro to Jira Align on the 27th, which Kylie posted the link for. We have a Jira Align Bootcamp. We have a Jira Work Management for All, where we show a lot of different non-software and non-technical solutions in Jira for every team, marketing and HR and legal. We have another team building workshop. We have a Jira Service Management Bootcamp. We have our creating a Foundation of Trust Tools and Strategies webinar. We have our cloud migration webinar again. We have Jira Align and Wine, where we send you wine. Service Management Fundamentals, Service Management for ITSM, and a new one that I just saw today, Slicing Through ITSM with Pizza. So I think we're going to send people pizza that show up to that. All right, so we're going to do Q&A in a second, but before we do, I just want to say thank you very much for your kind attention. 50 minutes, 51 minutes is a lot of time to spend listening to someone rattle on about tools. So thank you very much for that. I really hope you found this to be of value. If you have any questions that you don't want to ask right now, or if you want to talk about anything else, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. There's the QR code there, or email me at brian.dar@xbeam.com. More than happy to answer any of your questions. So with that, thank you very much. And now we're going to move over to Q&A. If you don't have any questions, have a really great afternoon. What is a sandbox? A sandbox is the ability to make changes in the tool without having them change Jira itself. So for example, in advanced roadmaps, I can change a bunch of dates, talk over with my fellow planners, say, do we think this is a good idea? Great. And then we can click push, and then we push it back to the tool itself to make all those changes, to update all of those issues. And you can do multiple scenarios in many of these tools. So effectively multiple sandboxes that you can play in before pushing those changes back to the tool. Advanced roadmaps. Can you show me how you set up the worst and best case scenario? Yeah, no problem. So if I come over here, come back to advanced roadmaps. So if you come to the settings cog and then configure, down here at the bottom under advanced, there's scenarios. And you can make, I don't want to say as many as you can. I think there's like an actual tools limit, but you can make a lot of them and then give them a different color, and then they will appear back in the plan. While I'm here too, something that I forgot to show earlier is just the way that you source data. Like here, I'm bringing in multiple boards, but you can also bring in multiple projects or multiple filters as well into a given advanced roadmaps plan. Any other questions? Oh, hey, sorry, I missed this. We have, this is 10 minutes ago, I apologize. We have a giveaway today. We do this sometimes in webinars. It's this thing right here. Maybe not this one in particular that I'm holding, but this is a MagCube. I feel like I'm on the QVC. This is a MagCube Pro magnetic wireless power bank. It's really sleek. And Joni, congratulations, you won. So please check the chat and email Kylie.braun@xbm.com, and we will ship this to you. It is really cool. I can't really say a whole lot more about it, but it does like magnetic charging and also USB-C based charging, and it even has a little what do you call it? Kickstand, so you can charge your phone and watch your phone like while you're on a plane, for example. Congratulations. All right. Any other? And sorry, Kylie, for missing that 12 minutes ago. Any other questions? Well, come back to more webinars and win stuff. Please, if you go to xbm.com and look on our homepage, you'll see a lot of these fun marketing events here. These are the major marketing events: Cloud Migration Workshop, Jira Line, Success Stories Over Wine, ITSM with Pizza, and then of course all of our upcoming webinars are here under events as well. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. Hope you found this useful, and please do reach out if you have any questions. Thank you again, and have a great day, everybody.